Now, here's another outstanding example of live theatre being delivered digitally. London Artists Project, in association with Bunjil Place and the City of Casey, present Jeremy Goldstein's Truth to Power Cafe, showing as part of the Melbourne Fringe Festival. Already partly conceived as a digital production, Truth to Power Cafe is inspired by the letters between renowned English playwright Harold Pinter and the friends of his youth, Henry Woolf and Mick Goldstein, better known as the Hackney Gang. It's performed and recorded in a beautiful old theatre in London, the South Place Ethical Society Conway Hall, which advertises Sunday lectures at 11 a.m, which is a little weird because that's when I'm watching it, and at the Bunjil Place Theatre in Narre Warren. Written and performed by Jeremy Goldstein, the son of the sadly departed Mick Goldstein, with poetry contributed and performed by Woolf, Truth to Power Cafe asks, who has power over you? Goldstein answers this for himself with a performance in which he explores and interrogates his relationship with his late father through the lens of these letters, which reveal his father as a young man engaged in literary and political debate with the rest of the gang. Goldstein's performance is intensely personal, sharing his memories and recounting the fights he had with his father. The anguish he felt at the years they spent estranged is clear, and it carries on until 2012, when his father developed a brain tumour and Goldstein himself discovered Kaposi sarcoma on his legs. The tragedy of his finally writing to his father to try and patch things up, only for the letter to arrive on the day his father died, never getting to read it, is equally painful. Film clips play of 40s fascism, Pinter at the 2003 Iraq War rally in Hyde Park telling the crowd American barbarism is out of control and will destroy the world, Julia Gillard condemning Tony Abbott's Women of Australia doing the ironing speech, the silence equals death and the pink triangle banners of the 1980s AIDS crisis, and a young Australian Indigenous woman interviewed at a peaceful protest. These are all eruptions of people speaking truth to power. Even Gough makes the cut with his famous rebuke to the Governor-General inserted into an old-fashioned CRT screen. Then, to the camera in various shots and edits, Goldstein tells his own truth. Speaking to his father, Mick, the man who had power over him, wearing a very well-tailored suit and affecting the accent of a Cockney hard lad. This story of his father and the Hackney Gang is accompanied by photos of them in their youth, and it's a story that's told in the shadow of the Holocaust and the atom bombs. Though it's edited and layered over with effects like fades and star curtain backdrops, it doesn't feel like a film. It still feels like watching a live performance, because of course it is. Recorded live in an empty space. There's a freedom in the performance that doesn't come with the very studied acting required for film or television. It's a performance designed for the stage, and it still reads like the stage, even though this is somewhere in between. When Goldstein reads a letter from his father, the accent drops away. He reads in his own gentle voice the stories of how his father and his two friends grew up, and Pinter's book The Dwarfs, which is based on their friendship. The poetry and the language of the letter is still present, especially when discussing if the dwarfs exist, and you can tell there's a real writer behind the letter. Goldstein tells us our relationships with the dead continue to grow and evolve even after death. The dead may be invisible, he says, but they are not absent. Goldstein's performance is followed by a range of ordinary-looking people assembling in front of a giant Truth to Power Cafe projection. Young, old, some guided to the stage by others, assisted where they need it. They speak from the stage or directly to camera as they answer the question, who has power over you, and tell us, this is who I am. There are stories of queer people living with HIV, stay-at-home mothers from migrant families, survivors of the stolen generation, community workers and the disabled. These are the people who are regularly disempowered, who are told that they are subject to the power of others, normative and exclusionary powers. Their stories show how important it is to speak our truth and how our fear keeps us silent. Some struggle with the idea that there are people who have power over us. They grapple with Lockean notions of the obligations one has to abide by to live in an organised society. The social contract is bound up with family and how our upbringing, our teachers, our communities shape the walls of our own world around us, and how we ourselves keep those walls up. It's striking how similar their voices are. Their experiences are different, but their dreams, their strengths, their weaknesses and their resilience, their individual relationships with power, seeing it, struggling with it, recognizing where they have it and where it is exerted over them by others, is a through line that connects them all, and ourselves, if we are honest. It's also striking how often they see the government as having that power, as a representative of the power that resides not in the hands of individual policymakers, but in the structures that surround us all the time, reinforced by the media, by business, and by community standards. So many people don't even see that power. It's invisible because we've been told so many times that only we have power over ourselves because we are free, because we live in a free society. One participant tells us how you will be your own worst enemy, the first one to tell you no, to criticize, to attack yourself. But I don't know, I feel like that the real enemies are the ones who have put this idea into us in the first place. The first attack, the first criticism, that first no comes from without and teaches us to internalize it, so we expend our energy in the fight with ourselves to overcome it. In these people's mouths, it's heartbreaking. Truth to Power Cafe then finishes with another poem, and Goldstein, now in a golden crown, tells us you've got to slide between the living and the dead. Not just the memories, but the legacy they leave us, which is alive and powerful, consciously and unconsciously giving shape to who we are and what we think we can be. It's a remarkable show, and it does the most important work that theatre can, giving voice to those who are expected and expect to remain silent.